What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV with your host here, Dano, giving you the best content that you're going to find on the internet. If you stay for 10 minutes, I promise you're going to stay for the entire show because we have Commissioner Jeffrey Nash here with us tonight, sharing all of the successes, all the challenges, and his career for over 40 years is absolutely amazing. And I'm just so honored and grateful to be able to share this moment with you guys. Jeff, what do you have to say to everybody before we get started today?
Hey, Dano, it's great to be on the show. I really appreciate it. Spent a lot of time in Camden, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you and your guests.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for today for being on here. To my Positivity Posse, you guys are absolutely amazing. And thank you so much for being here on this Thursday, sharing all of these great energies and great stories here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. So everybody, share, like, do whatever you have to do to raise your vibrations because it's time for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Up, this is supposed to take up the full screen. There it is. Up, even more. There we go. Thank you, everybody, for being here this Thursday. If you're watching live or on the replay, wherever you're watching from, I'm so grateful and honored for you to be here for today, to listen, to hear more about Jeffrey Nash's story, because there's a lot of golden nuggets that we can take away from his incredible journey. But before we bring him on, we got to have our time, Dano and the Positivity Posse time. Just to talk about some things that I've gone through the week. And I just wanted to share with you guys, I just wanted to share with everybody to make sure that, you're not going through this alone. But the thing that I wanted to talk about this week, or the topic, is always be, have a great sense of pride of where you came from. Whether it's from, the multimillionaire mansions, if that's where you came from, or, if you grew up on the streets or in the hood in Chicago or, Camden or anywhere, it doesn't matter, because all of these things that we experience in our life are meant for us to experience them that way, to really be the best version of ourselves, right? And I know for me, I didn't grow up in the nicest areas, or the wealthiest or the safest and things like that, but I always saw the end result of what happens when you don't really work on yourself every day, or if you go down the wrong path, right? When you see, that the lifestyle that you choose and the decisions that you make do affect your everyday life, you'll start to be more conscious of the things that you're doing and the things that you're saying, right? Because as you already know, the things, if you're messing around with the things you shouldn't be, there's only two results for that, right? It's you're going to end up dead or in jail. And unfortunately, those are some of the routes that people take. But these are the things that are serving us to make us our most positive selves and to get us to the place that we need to be, right? Because if you see and you recognize that from a very early age, or very early on, without having to go through those pitfalls, then you are just getting that much closer and making the right decisions to get to be the best version of ourselves. And that's what we all came on this earth to do, right? To really live out what our dreams and our wildest imaginations are, in the positive sense, of course. But these are the things. The most important part is, like I said, is a key component is to always be proud of where you came from. I was just at the Day of the Dead celebration that was hosted by La Ingrata in Camden, and just the authenticity and the culture and everything that they provided for the city of Camden was absolutely amazing. And when you see these cultures and these traditions being passed on from generation to generation, and that they're proud and of where they came from and their heritage, it just really sparks that innovation and that excitement for the next generation to just keep carrying on those traditions and to really inspire the next generation, to build them up, to say, hey, be proud, don't be ashamed. There's always great things to look forward to in life. So I just want to talk to my positivity posse. Thank you, Beatrice. Will be a great interview. I'm excited to bring Jeffrey Nash on, Commissioner Jeffrey Nash, on today to really hear about his story, because you guys are going to love it, or you all are going to love it. Thank you. Hello, beautiful souls. Hashtag Positivity Posse. You guys are all amazing, and we had a record month last month. It was for the amount of viewers that we had on was absolutely amazing. I just want to share with you guys, we had close to 50,000 viewers just last month alone. So I just wanted to celebrate that with you, and I appreciate and value every single one of you that is a part of the Positivity Posse, because if it wasn't for everybody watching, I would just be sitting here, sitting in front of a camera, just talking to myself, right? And thank you to all the guests that we've had, and thank you to the Positivity Posse for making this a really record-setting month. It wouldn't be possible without you all. So there it is. All right, so now we have to bring on Commissioner Jeffrey Nash. This is going to be a very special episode, because we have a man here that has gone through a lot of successes and challenges in his career. And even alone, I believe he's been practicing, I believe it's law, for over 40 years. And as you guys already know, it's no secret, I'm only 26 years old. So that's, close to double. Not really, but, longer than I've been born. And there is a lot of experience and golden nuggets that we need to take away from Commissioner Nash's experience. So, everybody, I hope you have your pens. I hope you have your papers, because it's time to bring Commissioner Jeffrey Nash onto the show. And Jeffrey, what are you doing, man? Take a quick break from helping out the public. It's time to get onto the show. Jeffrey, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. That's quite an introduction.
If I were to say what I really wanted to say, I wouldn't be able to. I would take up the whole hour just trying to give you all the flowers that you deserve. Because I know in your position, it's probably not, you get the thanks and the thank yous every single day. So before we even get started, I'm going to give you those flowers to say thank you so much for all the things that you do behind the scenes that the city doesn't see and the county doesn't see, because you do make a really, really big difference in everybody's lives every single day. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So we have a lot to cover in such a small amount of time, and we just got to get started, and let's just jump right into it, because the Positivity Posse needs to hear about your story and everything that you've been doing for the community. So let's start from the very, very beginning, because when I hear the word commissioner, I don't even know what words to think, because I'm not really sure it is exactly what it is that you do. So can you tell everybody on the Positivity Posse what it is that the commissioner does?
Yeah, that's a great question, because a lot of people have the same questions. Everyone knows who their mayor is, and they take care of the police and the fire and the trash and things that directly connect with the community. People know who their governor is and what the state does, because it does bigger things that get local attention. And of course, everyone knows who the president is and what the federal government does. What they don't know is what the county does. And the county, what I tell people is, the county is the meat in the sandwich. So it does things that are too big for municipalities to deal with. And in Camden County, there are 37 municipalities. And it's too small for the state and the federal government to do. But it doesn't get a lot of recognition, but it does very important things. It does 222 miles of roads. It handles our judiciary and corrections. It handles public works and libraries and things that the public use all the time. It just doesn't have the high profile of a municipality or state or federal government.
And thank you for explaining that, because now I do get a better sense of kind of like that, intermediary step. So you're out there helping the public, but it's more behind the scenes, and I really appreciate that, because you and your team, I've noticed, are not very power hungry individuals. I'm going to share this with you that I haven't even shared with the mayor. Shout out to Mayor Victor Karstoffen. There was the first event I've ever went to was last year. to go really see him and support the community was at Hassan's Reddick event. And I went to the event. It was a great time. And when I get back, I have a family member asking me, they say, "Oh, did you see the mayor there? He was there. He was there." I'm like, "What? The mayor was there?" But the way that you guys lead is not really by power. It's more of like, being, servants and saying, "How can we help you?" So thank you so much for having that mindset. But why is it that you surround yourself with individuals and put these people to help the city with that kind of mindset?
Yeah, it's very unusual because you have the city government, the county government, which I'm involved with, and the state government, and even Congressman Norcross on the federal level. Everyone is on the same page. I don't think there's an ego that can be identified amongst everyone who is involved. Everyone is focused on various projects, but perhaps the most important project that we're involved in is the revitalization of the city of Camden. And we're all on the same page. There's no egos that stand above anyone else. We're very focused on the mission. We understand that the city needs help, and we're all working together to get that done.
Yeah, and like they say, teamwork makes the dream work. And if it wasn't for that, you would have a lot of people being combative, and you wouldn't see the strides and the revitalization that this city has seen. And I know for me, growing up, I grew up here my entire life. From seeing the jail being tore down, and replaced with parks, to being able to go outside and not having really to worry about needles on the street, which is a big thing that we had to grow up. Now everything's really cleaner for the younger generation. So thank you so much for being a part of that. And one of the things that we mentioned was, or that you mentioned earlier, was the policing. And I know when it comes to the police department, that got national recognition from President Barack Obama. Can you talk a little bit about that project and why you wanted to revitalize really the community policing as well?
Dano, if you remember back maybe 15 years ago, Camden City was identified as the most dangerous city in the country. The per capita crime rate of violent crime, murders, etc., was the highest in the nation. And the police union at that time wanted additional funds to fund the police department, which was handling the most dangerous city in the country. And Mayor Dana Red, who I think is one of the most gutsy and smartest politicians that I have ever worked with, she said that we are not going to pay more for a police department in the current form. And it's really not the fault of the officers at that time, but the system was not working. So she went and worked with Governor Christie, believe it or not, a Republican governor who got it. And he said that we're going to make things different. And Dana Red and her colleagues, chief at the time, Scott Thompson, and others said, we're going to have a different model of policing. We're going to take the same amount of money the state gives us to run the police department, and we're going to create a community police model, meaning that we're not going to be militants. We're not going to be combative in the neighborhoods. We're going to work with the residents, and we're going to do community policing. And it's a different model of policing that transitioned in Camden City. And in 2015, Barack Obama came to Camden City and said, and this is on the heels of Ferguson and New York City, where there were policing issues. He said, this is the model of policing in urban communities. You cannot be a militant force. You have to go door to door and introduce yourselves to the neighbors and let them know, we are your police. We will protect you. And that has transformed the policing in Camden dramatically to the point where crime is down 65% from where it was before the police transition. So we're very proud of that. There's still a lot of work to be done. And we have to retain police officers and make sure that they're properly compensated. But the model has worked. And other jurisdictions, Philadelphia, for example, are looking to Camden to change the nature of their police force to make it more effective.
And it's absolutely amazing that you have, started that process. And like you said, there's still a lot of work to be done. But just the fact that you took it by the reins, said, we're going to do it this way, and the results are just speaking for themselves. Right here, we have a comment that says, different model of policing that has worked for city residents. The model does work 100%. I've seen it and I've experienced it too, where I'm not really, as nervous or scared to even step foot outside of my house anymore. It's a lot. You can just feel the energy has shifted, and for the positive sense as well.
Yep.
And I really love that as well because, I've experienced that. But we're going to take 1 second and I want to dive a little bit deeper into that. Can you share a specific story that maybe has impacted you as far as the, policing model that you just maybe took you back, or you were just overwhelmed with like enjoyment? Share us a positive story that you saw that this model has been working.
I think most recently when after the George Floyd murder in Minnesota, there were a lot of protests, rightfully so, around the nation. The Black Lives Matter movement gained a lot of steam, and there were different responses in different cities. Some cities were more combative to the BLM movement. I am very proud that the police chief in Camden stood arm in arm with people who were advancing the Black Lives Matter movement in Camden City, and they were parading through the city arm in arm with the police chief. That is dramatic and symbolic of the relationship that the community has with the police department. That's exactly what we were striving for in 2015. And I felt great joy when I saw that come to fruition during that moment, compared to some other cities where they were blockading and protesting, and the police were adversarial to the BLM movement, which was really unnecessary.
100%. And I really love the fact that you are making the strides and doing it, because this was a problem that maybe not many people wanted to tackle in the very beginning. And because, when it's first starting out, you're going to get a lot of resistance, you're going to get a lot of naysayers. And maybe, like you mentioned before, the monetary or the money's not going to be there as well. So thank you for being at the head of that movement to provide a better and cleaner city, which is Camden City, and even the surrounding areas as well. So, Jeff, Commissioner Jeff, we just have to go to a quick commercial break to hear from our first sponsor. And when we come right back, there's a picture that you shared with me that I wanted you to elaborate more and expand upon, because not only did you bring this revolutionary law into existence, but 150 other municipalities decided to follow along in your great work as well. So we're just going to hear a word from our first sponsors, and we'll be right back after a commercial break on Weekly Dose of Dano TV.
Takes a village about keeping our families together.
God bless this organization.
Thank you to It Takes a Village Housing for sponsoring Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Guys, please, if you have anybody or you want to help out, It Takes a Village Housing, you saw the website on the commercial, go to ittakesavillage.org or ittakesavillage1.org and go see how you can help out, whether it's time, monetary, or anything that you think can help these mothers and these children that need it the most. And we have Commissioner Jeffrey Nash here sharing his experiences, all of his golden nuggets, to make sure that we can learn from all of his great work, whether it's back in the day or whether it's now. It's all the same, and it's all for the betterment of the community, for the people. And we have one more comment here. Thank you, Carmen, for dropping the hashtag Positivity Posse. just so I know that you guys are engaging with this great content, that you're feeling it, and that all of this is serving a greater purpose. So thank you for dropping that hashtag Positivity Posse. And Jeffrey, we have a picture here that you shared with me. And when I first saw it, I thought it was really interesting because this, when you see or when you think about politics or maybe policy making in animals, you don't really see them go hand in hand. I think that's kind of getting brushed under the rug when it comes to saving animals or helping them out in any way. So I want to share this picture with everybody, and this is going to be kind of a two-part question. So number one, I need you to explain what's going on in this picture, and then number two, why did you decide to help animals specifically with this new law that you brought into existence? So here's the
Can't wait
picture,
to see the photo.
and here it is right there. Oh, so everybody can still see and hear you, Jeffrey. So explain what's going on in this picture.
In this picture, I'm holding my dog, Hector, who is a part Chihuahua, part miniature pinscher, known as a Pinscher. And we are standing, I believe, at Cooper River Park with Councilwoman Sangeeta Doshi of Cherry Hill and the gentleman who is known as the mayor of the Cooper River Dog Park, along with his dog.
And you can just see all the smile. Even the dogs are smiling. Look at the dog that's being held up in the sky. So you can just tell that the energy is great and that this purpose is really something that's worth fighting for. So why did you want to help animals in this capacity? And what is Norman's Law?
Yeah, Dano, animals are a passion of mine. It's also a passion of my wife, Krista. And we have in our house, believe it or not, we have 3 dogs, including Hector, who you saw. We have 8 cats. We have 9 chickens, 2 donkeys, and 3 goats. So we are animal advocates. And every morning when I get it up, it takes me an hour just to feed everybody and make sure they're okay. Norman's Law is something that is very important to me. Norman's Law is named after a dog that has since passed, a beautiful lab mix that we rescued from the Camden County Animal Shelter, now known as Homeward Bound. And Norman was a beautiful, loving dog that was found as a stray in Camden City, brought to the animal shelter, and we adopted him. Our family adopted him, and he was the best dog. And Norman's Law is a law that Camden County passed several years ago, which prohibits businesses in Camden County from selling dogs that were bred in the puppy mills. And if you know anything about puppy mills, you know how horrific an upbringing that is. Dogs are caged, they're starved, they're forced to breed over and over and over again. Many of the dogs, because of that environment, have inherent health issues, and unsuspecting people who want to give a dog a loving home receive these dogs not knowing of their upbringing, not knowing of their inherent medical conditions, and they will pay thousands and thousands of dollars to try to take care of those dogs where they are inherently troubled by medical problems. So we passed a law in Camden County that said the old puppy store, the pet stores are not permitted to sell dogs that were bred in the puppy mills. Since that time, over 150 municipalities and counties have adopted Norman's Law to prevent the sale of those dogs in their towns. So we're very proud of that. It is a terrible situation. We have tried to have state legislation passed. Unfortunately, that has not happened to date, but we're cautiously optimistic that it will in the near future. It is a terrible situation, not only for the animals, but for the consumers who are buying animals that they love and want to take care of. Will spend thousands of dollars to make sure they're okay. But in the end, it's something that should be prohibited by law.
Wow, 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 wow. That is just absolutely incredible. The fact that you even decided to fight for these animals is absolutely amazing. So I commend you on that. and we'll be looking in the future to see if the other legislation will be passed by the higher ups as well and the
Yep.
higher divisions of state. And so thank you for that. And what did I tell everybody? I told you all his story is absolutely incredible, and he does a lot for the city of Camden and for the surrounding counties as well. We're gonna take it a little bit way back, way back. Can you talk about how you even got started in serving, and why did you initially accept the position to serve the city?
Well, when I go back way back, I think I've always had an interest in politics. When I was a young student, uh, my aunt was involved in politics, both for Bobby Kennedy back in the 60s and in New York City when she was the commissioner of ports and terminals. She got me very involved in politics. And I've always, since the age of 16, when I was 16, I was a poll worker in Brooklyn, New York, where I grew up. And believe it or not, Chuck Schumer, who's now the Senate president in the United States Senate, was my assemblyman. And he used to come around to the polls. So I remember Chuck Schumer coming by as a young man and saying hello to the poll workers. But I was fortunate to be elected in 1989 as a councilman in Cherry Hill. And then in 1991, I won my first term as at the time it was called freeholder. So I was a Camden County freeholder. It's now known as commissioner. And I've been elected several times since 1991.
And that the ending part of what you just said honestly speaks for itself about how you just keep getting reelected and reelected because of the good work that you do and the visual component that we can actually see what's going on and the differences that you are making. And after all these years, like you said, there was 1991. How did what keeps you inspired and driven to just keep going and going? What pushes you forward?
Well, Dano, first of all, it blows my mind that it's been so long. You know, you close your eyes, you wake up, and it's many years later. I am still as excited about my job as a commissioner as I was in 1991. One of the great inspirations for me is the city of Camden and trying to re try to revitalize the city. There are so many component parts to that puzzle, and I'm inspired every single day to try to do something better for the city, starting with the children. That's the most important, making sure that the children, especially at a very young age, have the proper care and nutrition and support to become successful students. And then make sure the schools are better and that the teaching gives them an opportunity to learn and go to college or a vocational school or whatever trade they go into. And there's so many component parts of a city's revitalization and making sure that they have the same equity that kids in Cherry Hill and Haddonfield have. And that's why we've rebuilt all the parks in the city. So there's so many parts of it, and that inspires me every day.
And I know I say this over and over again, but just seeing all of the differences that you've been making, it's really going towards the positive direction. Because when I grew up in Camden, like I already told you before, and I went to middle school and really early to eighth grade, all the way, being in the Camden school system, I just seen so many acts of bullying and things that weren't really working. But when I go to these schools and talk to these kids now, it's just all really positive things to say, and you see the difference in what they're learning and how everything is just progressing more and more into the future. And just for my positivity posse as well, and to everybody watching, I'm going to be involved in a bunch of anti-bullying projects in the very near future, which is as early as next year. I'm not sure if I can really talk about those projects to you guys just yet, but keep an eye out on that. And I believe that is so important, because when you build up the next generation to be more open and inclusive and to eliminate all of the hate speech or just things that aren't really serving us in our communities, we can leave a legacy knowing that the next generation is going to be going into great hands. And thank you, Jeff, for being such a crucial part of that. And you know we have to hear from one more sponsor for the afternoon, or for the evening. What am I talking about? Afternoon. See, look at that. I just, when you say time flies, it's like you said, as soon as you open your eyes and when you love what you do, the time just flies so quickly. But we're going to hear from another sponsor here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And when we come back, we're going to talk about that parks aspect of everything and why it's such a big purpose for you to want to revitalize that as well. So, everybody, don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a word from the messages from Weekly Dose of Dano TV. And we'll be right back, anybody. Don't go anywhere. Remember to like and share everything as well. This system, we're still working around with it because when I look at it on my computer, it just looks like it's a little buggy. But when I look at it on my updated computer, it seems to be going a lot smoother. But at any rate, thank you to all of the veterans, and that's what you saw in the first video as well. Big shout out to you guys because we wouldn't have this freedom and this opportunities without everybody that served currently or served in the past as well, because they are just as vital and important in everything that we've done. So shout out to all the veterans. This weekend is happy, Veterans Day. So Jeff, do you have any plans this Veterans Day or?
No, but I want to give a shout out to all the veterans, including my sister, who is a veteran of the United States Marines. Hopefully she's watching. And my brother-in-law, also a Marine. Hoorah.
Hoorah. And thank you, everybody. Like I said, this wouldn't be possible without you. Just the freedom to go outside and to get into my car, to drive wherever I want to drive, which I know it sounds like it's a very simple luxury, but it's exactly that, a luxury. And to have that peace of mind, I don't know how you guys do it, but thank you for all of your service because it's very, very important to the everyday lives of everything that we've done. So can you talk a little bit about that relationship with your sister and serving? How did you, are there any components or elements that you've carried over with that relationship to your sister in serving?
Well, my dad used to say we have different genes, and not quite sure, but my sister has always been involved in public service and public safety. She was a trooper in North Carolina and joined the Marines many years ago, and she served in Japan and in California with the Marines. She was in the microbiology unit, so that was a dangerous work with the Marines, dealing with chemical spills and things of that nature. She met her husband in Okinawa, and he was a career Marine, and together they live in Virginia. She worked for the CIA for something I probably will never know what she did. But when Osama bin Laden was tracked down, she said, "You're welcome" to me.
Wow. So thank you all, not only for your service, but for all of the things that you may not get the thank yous for on the everyday basis. The same thing as you, Jeff. We really do appreciate it, even though it may be a job of an unsung hero. We're giving you your singing praises here on Weekly Dose of Dano TV.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Jeff, man, parks are such a big thing that I don't think that they're really coming back. And you are making it a point to help these kids stay active and fit because, as we all know, as we talk about here on Weekly Dose of Dano, we need to take care of our mental health, our spiritual health, and our physical health as well. So why is it that, out of all the things that you could really talk about, whether it's, the animals, but, everything that you do, why are the parks included in your revitalization of the city?
That's a really great question, Dano. I appreciate that. I'm the liaison, the county liaison to the Parks Department. So it gives me a platform to deal with park issues. So, and the parks stretch, there are 24 county parks stretching from Camden City down to Winslow Township. Um, Parks are critical to a community quality of life. And the parks are the centerpiece for many communities. In Camden City, in particular, which is divided into neighborhoods, the park is a central location. And what we found in our survey of the Camden City parks, they had both city and county parks were some of the worst parks, most dilapidated parks in the entire county. We made a commitment, and when I say we, I mean the Camden County, along with Camden City, made a commitment that we were going to revitalize those parks. We were going to take the parks that could be considered the worst in the county and make them the best in the county. Parks in Camden City should be no different than the parks in Cherry Hill and in Haddonfield, and to be the centerpiece of a community where people in the old days were selling drugs out of the parks, and that kids and families were afraid to frequent the parks. We wanted to change that dynamic. We wanted the families to enjoy the parks and have the children enjoy the playgrounds and have baseball fields that were quality and football and soccer fields that were state of the art. So the county, and I'm proud to say the county invested millions of dollars to renovate most of the parks. There are 7 under construction as we speak. The first one was Pine Point Park in North Camden. We recently completed Whitman Park, which has a football field with lights that match any football field in the state of New Jersey, including where the Eagles practice in in Pennsylvania. So we are, and you mentioned Hasim Reddick, who is a Camden native and plays with the Philadelphia Eagles and wreaks havoc every single defensive he plays. He came from Whitman Park. 7 NFL players currently on rosters come from Whitman Park, Camden City. And we wanted to make sure that those kids, obviously super talented, given the NFL rosters, that those kids have the absolute best facilities to learn their sport, that the playgrounds that kids who are not going to the NFL are outstanding playground equipment, the baseball fields, the softball fields, state of the art. And we're doing that throughout the city, and we're very proud of that because it is. And when you talk about revitalization of a community, you start not downtown, you don't start at the waterfront, you start in the communities and have the communities build the parks that they want to have their families enjoy.
Well, man, you hit the nail right on the head. And again, since I am a Camden City resident, I've been experiencing all of the great work that you've done. So recently, I play on a basketball team, and I have a few friends that aren't in the city. They're from Washington Township area, and with the mix of the people on the team, that we have some kids from Camden, or some I shouldn't call them kids because they're my age. The adults that we have that are some are from Washington Township and some are from Camden. We wanted to get together to have a practice before our season started. So this was about maybe last month where I said, "Hey guys, there's this great park on downtown Camden. It's in downtown Camden. It was the Martha Wilson Park that just got recently renovated." And I said, "Would you guys want to come over here into Camden to maybe have a practice and get our skills a little bit better before we start the season?" And I was expecting them to say, "Camden, are you crazy? Like, I'm not going into there." But they were like, "You know what? Yeah, let's go into Camden and we'll have our practice and get our skills a little bit better." And like you said, everything that you said was so on point. We saw a lot of the families playing. The community parks were clean, and you have people that want to come into Camden now to really see what the changes have been. And I know if it's working for us and we're closer to being adults, then it's working for the kids that are growing up as well, that need those spaces and opportunities to practice, and also as well with the parks. I know growing up, I played a lot of lacrosse, and I didn't see a lot of greenery or spaces that I can go play and work on my skills in the lacrosse field as well, because as you already know, it's a field. I would have to go to all these surrounding cities. And just the fact that you're providing these opportunities to kids that we may not even know about, sports or not sports, just to be able to connect with nature and find the release for them to make sure that they are taking care of their mental health as well is absolutely amazing. So thank you, Jeffrey, because we see these things right before our eyes. And I would have never thought in my lifetime that I would have seen such great advancements and improvements to the quality of life. But you have been such an essential part of it. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
And
Daniel, I just want to add that when we build our parks, we don't tell the community what they want in their community. We start with the community and we have many community meetings. The community builds their park. And the reason we do that is that it gives the community ownership of the park. And even in terms of what color the playground equipment is, we ask the community, what color would you like to see? And that has been a great model for development of those parks.
because they feel like they have a sense of connection to it too. If they help build it, then they'll start to take care of it a little bit more. To say, nah, you're not going to be throwing trash or littering around my parts of the neighborhood. You can take that
Exactly.
somewhere else, because there's that sense of pride that they feel like they have that connection to it, which
Yep.
is absolutely makes sense. And thank you for even consulting the residents, because we're the ones that are using it, right? And I
Yep.
know we can think of plenty of examples of things that are going on in the city. Not to say anything about Philly, but I know they want to move the Sixers Stadium into downtown, or to, Center City. And I'm pretty sure they didn't consult their residents with that. So
No.
thank you. I understand there's a lot of, more population and more people living in Center City, but, it's just nice to see that we have that community involvement and engagement. And we all know that when it comes to being a leader in the community, you've probably faced a lot of backlash or decisions that people did not like. And now we're going to move into the part of the show where it's going to be a little bit more serious. Going to try to throw you a couple curveballs, but here we go. Um,
Sure.
as time has gone on, the needs of the city right now are not going to be the same as they were in 1996 or in 1956. So, with the advancement and the different needs of the population nowadays, how do you find yourself and your team responding to the different needs of the people in today's time?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Dano. I think that what I have sensed, and it's not recent, it's through the years, there's a frustration. People if we're speaking about Camden City, there's a frustration. People feel that government does not care about them, that they are not working to make a difference in their lives, about creating job opportunities, to fix the roads in their community, to increase the quality of life. And that is a frustration that I appreciate. I understand that. People are struggling. Um, the economy goes up and down, and Camden's economy kind of flows with it. So it's difficult sometimes for people to get jobs. The education system sometimes does not offer their kids the best opportunity. So that is something that is very real, that I take to heart. We do the best job we can with the resources that we have, and we try to make a difference in the lives of the people who need help. Having said that, it's just not enough, and people are hurting. There is so many social and economic problems that are inherent in any urban community. We try to fight through it. We work with people. We work with community groups as best we can. But honestly, Dano, sometimes it's just not enough.
Yeah, and you said something in there that you want to try to actually improve the lives of the residents that are in the city. And I want to take that word try, because you're not trying, you're actually doing. And with all of the great achievements and all of the plans that you have and future projects that are in store, you can see the difference. I mean, ask anybody who doesn't live in the city. They'll say, wow, well, you see that the waterfront's going up, which is, not the main part of it, which is what you said before, but just the fact that any part of it's going up is a success and a movement in the right direction. So, like I said, I don't want to change your wording with anything that you said, but I want to replace that word try with actually doing, because we can see the concrete changes that are going on in the city. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I would say it's like watching your child grow up. When you watch the child grow up day to day, you don't really see the growth. But if you close your eyes when the child's 5 and open it when the child's 18, you know that there's a significant difference. The comparison you said early on in the show about the Riverfront State Prison being removed, which was a great community victory in 2009, accomplished by Governor Corzine. And he ripped down that prison, which was the newest prison in the system, and that was a great victory. But what flowed from that was the waterfront development. The waterfront development, which brings ratables to the city's coffers, would not have happened but for the riverfront prison being torn down thanks to the efforts of the community. So it's I would say we try every day, but we have accomplished a lot.
100%. So thank you for leading that charge and being just there for the people, because like I said, you don't really see this nowadays, where you have, somebody like you coming on in such a high power status, coming on the show and giving the opportunity for the people to come out, ask questions, and just being open and there for them as well. And we're going to hear our word from our last sponsor on Weekly Dose of Dano TV. But when we come back, we want to hear more about some future projects and things that you have in store for the city of Camden, and who knows, maybe even surrounding areas. So everybody, to my Positivity Posse, share this information with people that you might think need it and that they want to hear all of the great things, because when it comes to Camden, it's not every day that you get to hear about the positive things as well. But Jeffrey Nash and we are leading that change to show that great things do come from Camden as well. So we're going to hear a word from our last sponsor, and we'll be right back for the third segment of the show.
Can navigate the legal and emotional journey of divorce and exit a marriage the way you entered it, with mindfulness, love, and respect. Solace Divorce Mediation is a full-service law practice helping couples focus on the health and well-being of children and their forever co-parenting family. Our streamlined divorce journey offers flat fees with an estimated completion time frame of 2 to 4 months. If you or a friend need us, visit solacedivorce.com.
Thank you, everybody, for being here on Weekly Dose of Dano, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Like I said, if you're watching from Africa, if you're watching from England, from Canada, or in the nearby city of Pennsauken, we appreciate you spending this time with us. And this has been absolutely amazing. And thank you so much, Commissioner Jeffrey Nash, for being here and sharing all of your golden nuggets and experiences as well. I know I said when we came back, we were going to talk about some of the future projects that we have for Camden, but there's one more question that I need to know, and I think the people need to know as well. This is going to be a very serious question as well. So out of your entire career, I know there's so many things that you can probably choose or pinpoint, but can you talk about what the hardest point of your career was, and how did you overcome that obstacle or that boundary to find the life and just the excitement to keep moving forward in your career?
Boy, that is a really tough question, Dana. There have been there are highs and lows in every profession. Everyone who's watching has had highs and lows in their jobs. I think that perhaps my most difficult challenge was in dealing with the city's police department back in when the county and the state of New Jersey and the city of Camden decided to fire its entire police force. We did not know at that time how that would turn out. So you had a city that was dealing with the most, as I said before, the most difficult crime statistics. Murders were through the roof. I remember that residents of the city put up tombstones representing every person who had been murdered in the city of Camden, and that was symbolic of the incredible murder rate of a city that is relatively small. And when we fired the police department at that time, we didn't know that the new police department would be as successful as it was. We didn't know that Barack Obama would come to Camden City and proclaim this to be the model of community policing throughout the country. That was the most challenging time. And when you dismiss an entire police force. You have a lot of unhappy police officers who've been fired, and they did not take lightly to that. That was a challenging time, and I give enormous credit to, again, Mayor Dana Red at the time, and Commissioner Director Lou Capelli, who led the fight for the county. They are the two bravest people that I've seen in government, and we overcame that. But at the time, to answer your question, that was the most difficult period of time I've had as a public official.
100%. It's just amazing to see, and we can take that lesson in every one of our lives as well. There are a lot of uncertainties that are going to come up in our lives, and instead of looking at what can go wrong, I think, Jeffrey, you were the leading person to say, well, once we start to implement these changes, we'll start to see a lot more go right. And that's what we need to focus on more in our everyday lives. Just because you may have gotten fired from a job, or you didn't make the appointment on time, or whatever situations or uncertainties that do happen, it's for a reason. And these blessings will come from these uncertain times. Like, if we look at it now, these positive changes have stemmed from that time of uncertainty. So just understand that these things are happening to us to serve us, and to really deep down into our core to see how we can respond to these challenging times. So thank you, Jeffrey, for sharing that, because it's not always going to be rainbows and sunshines and butterflies.
Right.
But if we have that positive mindset and we start to focus on what can go right, our lives will start to change for the better as well. And I've experienced that. Jeffrey has experienced that. And I'm pretty sure if a member of the Positivity Posse is watching right now, to all of you watching right now, you can think of a time where you didn't see how you were going to make it through that trial or tribulation. And you came out on the other side very victorious, and probably very appreciative of learning that lesson that you had to learn in order to get to where you are right now.
Absolutely.
So, Commissioner Jeffrey Nash, we have to talk about the future of what's going on for Camden City, some projects that we should be on the lookout for. So I'm going to let you take it away and tell us about all the exciting projects that we have coming up.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of plans. I'll start with downtown and then move to the neighborhoods. In downtown, the Governor Murphy, has dedicated $250 million to rebuild the Walter Rand Transportation Center. Walter Rand is really a centerpiece for the city, especially the downtown area. The bus traffic goes through there. runs through there. The river line runs through there. So it's the center of transportation. All the buses run through there. And the governor's rebuilding it. So what you will see is the demolition of that entire block. Walter Rand, the surrounding stores, and even 101 Haddon Avenue on the backside. In its place, hopefully, is going to be a new transportation center, brand new, state-of-the-art. And next to it, adjacent or on top of it, will be a commercial development that will rise to the top of Camden City. So the centerpiece will be a beautiful new transportation center, as Camden City deserves. And then adjacent to that is a $2 billion expansion by Cooper Hospital. They're going to build a brand new tower and do renovations to the first two towers. So Cooper Hospital will expand its footprint in the city. Behind on Martin Luther King Boulevard, they're talking about affordable market rate housing. So people who have an opportunity in Camden City, either working there or living there today, that are struggling with their families to figure out where they're going to live, they will have an opportunity to live in beautiful new market rate houses right near the waterfront. And that will keep people who have the opportunity to stay in the city, to live in the city, and to be part of the city's renaissance. That renovation is going in every corner of Camden City. The schools, there's going to be a $70 million retrofit of the public schools in the city. So those antiquated school buildings will be rebuilt, and that will complement what's already been going on at the Renaissance schools and the charter schools. So the facilities for our children in the city of Camden, which is the future of the city, the facilities will be state-of-the-art in just a few years, and topped off by Eastside High School, formerly the
Woodrow Wilson, right?
Formerly Woodrow Wilson, I'm sorry. And that is going to be completely renovated, as was Camden High School. So the existing East Side High School is going to be demolished, and there'll be a brand new high school in its place.
Wow, absolutely amazing. And these are just the things that I'm pretty sure you can think of off the top of your head, because there's so many things and renovations and revitalizations that are going on in the city of Camden, whether it's the mental part, the spiritual part, and the physical part with all of the parks. Thank you so much for leading that charge, Commissioner Jeffrey Nash. And what about the personal side? What do you have in store for like the next 5 years for your personal journey?
Well, mostly I'm feeding animals at the house. That's where I started in my day. I still love this job, and I will continue to do it for as long as the voters will have me do it. And I want to be part of the city's continued revitalization. I'm going to share a little story with you that when I was first elected in 1991. 1992 was my first year in office, and that was the year Bill Clinton and Al Gore were nominated in New York to be the nominees. And their first stop from the Democratic National Convention, first stop with Hillary, with Bill, and Tipper with Al Gore, was Camden City. And their first stop on a bus tour was the old RCA building, now known as the Victor Lofts apartment buildings. But at that time, RCA was still actively working and manufacturing in that building. And Bill Clinton stood before the crowd, and he was half the age he is today. And he said that he had a vision for urban renewal and wanted to bring that to fruition. And that was his message in Camden City, that he would rebuild places like Camden City. And it took many, many years later, but we're finally making that happen. But that was a monumental moment in my life that I remember like it was yesterday, but it was over 30 years ago.
Wow. Thank you so much for everybody for being here, Mr. Jeffrey Nash, Commissioner Jeffrey Nash, for sharing that story, for sharing all of your golden nuggets that we needed today to hear about all of the great things that are going on, because there's a lot of good that's coming from Camden as well. And whatever you see on the news, ignore all it. Well, not ignore it. If you really think that, then how about you come into the city and see all the great things that are going on as
Right.
well? We welcome you and we invite you as well. So everybody, that has been the show, the episode for this week. Next week, just to let you know, we have Todd Frace coming on. He is the plant manager out at Covanta, and we had some behind the scenes videos that we went to go shoot over there. So be excited and in store for that. That's what we have going on next week. And I just want to read a few of the the comments that everybody has to say. Lou right here, he says, great episode. Hats off to you. The love for the animals is priceless. We need more people who have a true love and commitment to these animals. Camden Strong. And one more right here says, I love the collaboration between you two. Hope to see more. And yes, you will definitely see more. So come back next week to hear about all the great things that's going on in the Camden City community, because we have Todd Frace coming on, who is the plant manager at Covanta. Like I said, we went on the streets to go film what's going on behind the scenes. So come back and see all the great things that are going on. Commissioner Jeffrey Nash, what do you have to say to the people before we sign off today?
Well, first, I want to say to you, Dano, thank you for having me on this show. It's been a pleasure. It's always good and important to let people know what's going on in the community. So have a great and safe Thanksgiving, everybody.
There it is. Everybody, have a great weekend. Commissioner, don't go anywhere. I just have to talk to you about one or two more things.
Sure.
And everybody, I will see you next week. Please have a safe weekend. Go honor your veterans. Just go say thank you if you don't know what to do, because a simple thank you goes a long way. So everybody, be safe out there. And I will see you next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano. Everybody, have a great and safe weekend.